I find myself connecting with the stories and scenarios of all these young quarterbacks. And I think the scenarios these guys find themselves all relate really well to life. Your first year or two in the NFL is all about growth and all about learning. And once you're into like your fifth year in the NFL, the growth period is over. You're settled. You've come to a resting point. And, and guys like Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston, they're in their fifth year. We know what they are by now. I kind of would liken it to, I worked at a car wash in high school, and I had coworkers who were 40 years old making minimum wage working at a car wash. And it's painful to watch. It's hard to see, but it's guys who kind of they've hit a stop in their acceleration. They've hit a resting point in their life, and they've settled. Their upward trajectory from when they were kids has stopped, and they kind of hit a ceiling. It's sad. It's awful. I'm not saying that to discourage anybody. When you're 40 years old, your life is not over. You can still make a change. My mom actually went back to college. She's in her 50s. She went back to school. She's getting her master's and trying to change her entire career. I'm not saying you can't do that. But for those guys I met at the car wash, they'd hit their ceiling, and there wasn't anything better for them coming later in life. It's sad. It's very brutal, but that's what I saw. And I would liken those guys to Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston. The upward trajectory has stopped. But this is why I think I connect with these young quarterbacks: Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Gardner Minshew. I feel like I'm leaving someone out. I don't know who it is, but those young quarterbacks in the first and second year, there's a lot of unknown with these guys. They're still in a growth period, and that's very much how I feel about my own life. Right now I'm not in college. I don't know if I'm going back. I guess if I don't go back, I'm considered a college dropout. I'm looking for an apartment. I'm starting this new career on YouTube, making content that I love and is amazing, but it's still wildly interesting and different. Like it's a different thing every day. I run into new problems and challenges every single day. I go, oh wow, weird and cool, and it's just a whole new experience. I'm in this relationship with my, it's a really cool story. It's my best friend from high school. I've been in love with this girl for 6 years. I finally get out of the friend zone. I'm pretty sure I'm going to marry this girl. I might not, but I think so. And I look at my life right now. I have a bunch of unknown. My future feels, there's a bunch of things in flux, and I'm just not sure. I might fail, right? I'm trying this new career. I might fall apart and crash and burn miserably. I don't think so, but I've started my own business, and we'll see how it goes. The point is, I make mistakes every single day. I'm still learning. I'm figuring out what I'm doing. And I think it's important to recognize with these young quarterbacks, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, all these young guys, is they're people. They're human beings. They've stepped into new careers and they're figuring all kinds of new things about their lives. They're getting houses and apartments, and they have wives, and some of them are getting, Baker Mayfield just got married. And these are young guys. And Dwayne Haskins got shafted. Dwayne Haskins got screwed. He was drafted to the Washington Redskins, the horrible organization. And he was thrown to the wolves. Literally his first game he was put in, he'd never before gotten first team reps. And in that game, he got punched in the face. 3 interceptions. Not a great start to the NFL. And Dwayne Haskins' NFL career has been similar to a kid who graduates high school, maybe college, who never had a support system, who gets fired and evicted, and 2 years out of school just goes, crap, man, I fell flat on my face and it hurt and it sucked. It's getting beat by life. And by the way, that's an analogy. I'm not saying Dwayne Haskins' family in real life it's just an analogy where the Washington Redskins are horrible parents that don't set up their kid to succeed. I'm sure in real life, Dwayne Haskins' actual parents are awesome, wonderful people. But I root for all these young quarterbacks because they're people. They're human beings who are learning and navigating new realities. It's a new career path with, new offensive systems. They have money for the first time in their lives. They're buying a house. And as I look around, I'm 22 years old. As I look around at all the other people my age, some people are killing it. Some people, all kinds of great stuff, and some people are not. And then other people are just kind of figuring out some of my friends are just figuring things out. They don't have jobs yet. They got out of college or they work at a minimum wage job, they're just figuring it out, right? because they're 22 and they're young and they're learning every day. So my point is that these young quarterbacks are going to make mistakes. That's a very long roundabout way of saying we got to be forgiving to these young quarterbacks. They're young human beings learning how to do new jobs. And I'll tell you, man, like Daniel Jones has more interceptions than he does touchdowns. It's forgivable. He's a rookie. Okay. Josh Allen throws boneheaded interceptions. He runs around. He gets hurt. It's forgivable. Josh Rosen's NFL career has been sad and hard to watch because he's repeatedly given bad teams and no support and no talent around him. And I just want to encourage everybody that these are not just storylines. You know, these people, we talk about quarterbacks all the time, and they're not just headlines. They're not just clickbait. These are real people learning how to navigate real life. And you can be mad at me whatever you want. Dwayne Haskins hasn't been well supported. Josh Rosen hasn't been well supported. All these young quarterbacks are in very different situations with very different levels of support from their franchises. I have compassion for them, and I root for all of them, and just understand that there are a lot more factors than just the stuff they deal with every day. So I've never really talked about the way quarterbacks play as the way they relate to life. And I see a lot of parallels between a young guy, any young person who's 22 or 23 getting out of college or getting out of school, I think can relate to young quarterbacks learning and struggling and needing a little bit of patience, and some are better than others. It's a good analogy to life. And so I just thought of that this weekend when I was watching football. I was like, man, Daniel Jones, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, like, oh, they're kids still figuring it out. You may not like that. I know they're also making millions and millions of dollars as a face of franchises, but I think you got to give young quarterbacks a little bit of time and space to develop and figure it out, and understand that they're human too, and still learning and still figuring things out. My name is Zach Schaumler. This is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. And I want to be very clear and open with the audience. My YouTube channel is monetized. What that means is that some of my videos make ad revenue. It's fewer than you think. A lot of them get claimed. But in the past, I've received donations from people on Patreon and PayPal. PayPal.me/Zach Schaumler. Patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. And because I'm making ad revenue, it felt kind of weird just receiving donations. I wanted to give something back for the donations. And so people who support me on Patreon can give me $1 a month, and that allows them access to a pool where they can ask questions. If you send me questions through Patreon's DM service, you comment on one of my posts on Patreon. If you give $1 a month, you can submit questions. And with my eyeballs, I look at every single question submitted. Then at the end of my podcast, I pick the best top couple questions and read them on the show and answer them in a segment I call Ask Zach. Now that's for people who have money and want to support me that way. If you have no money to give, no problem. I totally understand. I grew up in a mobile home. I've been a broke college kid. I totally get it. But if you want to help in some capacity at the end, you can support the show by telling your friends about it. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. Help me grow by telling your friends about this show. It would mean a lot to me. If you believe in my dream and you believe in this show, tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. Guys, my name is Zach Schaumler. Thank you so very much, and hope you have a great day.